Hey, everybody. Welcome to or welcome back to Follow the Moon Rabbit Unscripted, my podcast where we are exploring the mystical, the spiritual, the taboo, and the unseen realms. I'm your host, Michelle, your Moon Rabbit crystal ball reader, and today I'm going to talk about being a psychic medium. So let's get into it. My whole life, I've had the ability to see, sense, hear, and know things outside of the five senses. And when I learned at my very young age that this wasn't something that everyone could do, I had questions. I mean, young person, questions. Sadly, my questions were often met with disapproval, judgment, and discouraging comments. Things like, we don't talk about those things, or that's the devil's work. Well, when you're a little person, those types of dialogues leave you to even more questions. Like, am I really from Satan's womb? For years, I studied different sciences, religions, and spiritual beliefs, seeking answers to my questions and a way to identify myself. You see, I believe that if I could put a name on what I was experiencing or what my identity was, that perhaps maybe I could identify with others that were like me, and then perhaps I wouldn't feel so alienated. As a young person, I would often research in dictionaries and encyclopedias, because I didn't have Google, for the information that I was actually receiving from different time periods. And it always seemed to catch me by surprise when I found that it was accurate. Now, and I mean, like, I'm today years old almost. Now that I work with another psychic medium, I've discovered that my experiences aren't all that unusual. They are unique, not unusual. And so while I may not have all the answers to explain what it is that I'm experiencing, or even a definitive title, I can at least start to share my story for those of you who may have or are experiencing something similar. So let me start by defining what is a psychic. A psychic is a person who has an extrasensory perception and ability to identify information hidden from the normal senses. This can be achieved using telepathy, which is the ability to communicate from one person's mind to another's, or with what I call the clairs. What is a medium? A medium is someone who mediates communication between the living and spiritual entities or spirits of the deceased. There are multiple ways and tools that can be used, although it's not always necessary, to communicate with spirits, and that would be another episode altogether. Here are some common misconceptions about psychic mediums. The first one: all psychics are mediums and all mediums are psychic. Well, they're not. You see, while it's not uncommon to be both, it's still not one in the same. As I said, psychics can see through timelines, whereas a medium moderates conversations. Another misconception is that psychics and or mediums know everything. They do not. Let me put it to you this way. A psychic is given a window to see a timeline or an event, and that view through that window can change based on events or people that a psychic may not be able to see in that window. It's not to say that they're not psychic, it's more that they can only see what is inside their view. Now imagine trying to see the whole world and its timelines through the eye of a needle. That's how it is for a psychic. They're only given a very small space to preview what they're previewing. With mediums, they have a similar experience with communicating with spirits. They're only able to communicate with whomever they're permitted to and with whomever comes through to them. It's not as easy as picking up a phone and demanding that Fred speaks. Now, here's another misconception. What a psychic or a medium or a psychic medium, what they say and what they see is absolute. Again, big no. You see, a psychic can only see within their view, and because there's still this thing called free will, stuff can change outside of that view of the psychic's vision. And I'd say the same could apply for a medium as well. They can only access what they're permitted to, and again, the outcomes can change. And here's my favorite one. A psychic medium can remove curses, hexes, negative energy for a fee, of course. No, bestie, no. Okay. A psychic is a psychic. They have the ability to see, sense, hear something in a specific area. And a medium communicates. They moderate a conversation. Now, if you have some sort of curse or a hex or a negative energy that you need to get rid of, there are plenty of people who can do that. And in some cases, they can do it for free. Heck, in fact, you can do this for yourself with the right knowledge. That's another episode. And we'll talk about that later. Now, I've mentioned this, and I'm sure you guys are asking, what are the clairs? The clairs are a set of extrasensory abilities that both psychic and mediums can use with their intuition, and they're broken down like this. The first one is clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. This gives the psychic and or medium visions, mental imagery, and symbols. So for me, when I am seeing something via psychic message or mediumship, when I'm connected to it, I will get a glimpse of a vision or an image or a symbol. And it happens relatively often. The next one is clairaudience, which means clear hearing. And for the psychic medium, this means that they can pick up voices, tones, music, and messages. And I can also receive all of those things. Oftentimes it's voices. I have a tone in my ear all the time. I get music messages all the time. It's something about the lyrics. The next one is clairsentience, which is clear feeling. It's empathy to the highest degree. It's a physical and emotional sensation that you'll get. And an example of that for me, as it happened, is after my grandmother passed away, she tapped me on my shoulder and I felt her. Another example would that being if a medium is channeling somebody who is expressing joy, the psychic medium will experience the medium will experience that sensation of joy. And it's almost as if it's experienced simultaneously with whatever they're feeling. So it's separate, but it's the same. The next one is claircognizance, which is a clear knowing. And those clear knowings is like an instant knowledge. It's knowing something that you wouldn't ordinarily know. So an example would be, I had a claircognizant moment where I was connected to a spirit. In this case, it was actually a guardian angel. And I was having a conversation about the Kundalini awakening. And this person was saying, well, how do you know that you are actually having this experience? What if you are like, again, what if you're possessed by a demon? And all of a sudden, I quoted a scripture that I wasn't familiar with. And I can't remember what it is now, but I quoted scripture from the Bible. And I told them, go look this up and you will know that what I'm saying is true. And they did. And they were like, I don't know how you knew that. I don't know how I knew that either, other than it happened. The next one is clairaudience, which is clear tasting. And it's an unexplained taste linked to a spirit message. So as an example, if this one particular person that I'm connected to happened to really, 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 really love Big League chewing gum, I will taste that. Or they will give me the taste in my mouth. And then I can identify that. And that's another way that I can, if I'm communicating with a spirit that is past and I'm talking to someone and it's their connection, those types of things are so that the person that I'm speaking to can identify that I'm in fact speaking to who I say I'm speaking to. So there's that. And then the last one is clairaudience. Clear smelling. Clairaudience. And it's clear smelling, which means scents that are of spiritual significance. This happens a lot when you're doing spiritual, like ghost hunting. You'll go into a building that, clearly these days you're not allowed to be smoking in, and suddenly you'll catch a whiff of like tobacco pipe smoke that's vanilla flavored, or you'll catch a whiff of like a whiskey in an area where you wouldn't get a whiff of whiskey. There's also incidents of people smelling perfumes that are flowers in areas that there are no flowers. So for me personally, I have all of the clairs. Like I said, I've had this my whole life, and I didn't realize that not everybody has this. Now, I'm going to talk about psychic mediumship from my perspective. For me, my mediumship skills differ from my psychic intuition. As a medium, I'm receiving messages from a spiritual source versus when I'm using my psychic abilities, I'm tapping into a collective energy around a person, place, or thing. So, with mediumship, surprisingly, there are quite a few different types of mediumship. There's mental mediumship or spiritual mediumship, which can use psychic abilities to telepathically connect their consciousness to the consciousness of the spirit. And then they can speak with that spirit and hear what they're saying. And for myself, I rely on the telepathic connection, and I use the clairs as my guidance. There's also a physical medium who embraces transfiguration, materialization, and trance to work together to create and produce physical phenomenon with their spirits. They can use channeling, where a spirit enters a person's body, or even things like ectoplasm, where the medium's bodily substance is mixed with an etheric substance, which enables a spirit to affect physical matter, and it can be seen by the naked eye. I personally have never experienced that. If you have, I would love to hear about it, please. I am all ears, super curious. There's also energy mediumship, which is something else I'm very familiar with. An energy medium is someone who brings healing energy from a healing source through to your body to heal you. They can also bring it through to heal themselves. And this can be through what has been commonly called like the laying of hands, but it can also refer to other modalities of healing, such as Reiki or pranic healing. For me personally, I don't do it like a Reiki or a pranic. Although I am able to do energy healing. There's also channeling mediumship, which is when a medium connects with a spirit or a group of spirits to allow them to speak through them via automatic speaking or automatic writing. So basically, they allow the spirit to be within like cohabitate in their physical self to do automatic speaking or automatic writing. Now, for mediums, how do spirits connect with mediums, and how do mediums connect with spirits? For the most part, they connect using ESP, which is extrasensory perception, to tune in to the spirit world and then interpret messages as they receive them. Some can even enter a trance state to facilitate this communication. For me, I don't necessarily have to be in a trance because I'm so used to being in a state where I'm in communication with spirit that my kitty's knocking on the door. I'm so used to being in a conscious state of communication, but I also do it when I'm like half asleep or in my sleep because they communicate with me in my dreams too. And mentioning the trance state, shamans will also use trance states to facilitate communication with spirits in the spirit realm. So, let's talk about some of my experiences. As a psychic, in April of 1995, I had a dream about two men. They were underground in what appeared to be a bunker. One was a younger white gentleman, and the other one was an older white gentleman with glasses. And there was like a light. So it was either a bunker or a basement that they were in, and they were over a table, and there was like a map laid out in front of them. And there was like a light bulb that has a pull string hanging from the ceiling. And there was Metallica playing in the background. And I could hear bombs going off. My kitty is throwing a fit right now. So to my surprise, I had that dream 24 hours before the Oklahoma City bombing. And the day that it happened, my mom called me and was telling me about it. And I told her, I said, I had a dream. I know who did this. It's two white men. And she said, well, they are calling it a terrorist attack. And they're saying that it's probably from, like some terrorist organization. I said, no. I know for a fact that this were two men. They're white and they have military backgrounds. And sure enough, Tim McVeigh and Terry Nichols, the accused, two white men, both with military backgrounds, one being younger and one being older with glasses. So that was exciting. The next experience that I have is a mediumship message, if you will. It was more of like an intuitive hit than anything. So in 1989, there was the Loma Prieta earthquake in California. And at the time, I lived in a city called Milpitas. And for some reason, I cannot explain, this goes back to being clairvoyant. I felt like, and my mom and I would we wouldn't joke about it, but we'd say, hey, it feels like earthquake weather. And some of you may or may not know what earthquake weather is. On that particular day, it felt like earthquake weather. And we decided, my sister, my little cousin, and I, that we were not going to stay at the house that day. We were actually just going to go hang out at the park up the street from our house. And so, yeah, it was completely out of the norm for us. We never would go to the park. We would go home. We would do our homework and whatever, and wait for our parents to get home. This particular day, it was not. I just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. I felt like we had to go to the park. So we did. And yeah, that was a good thing that we did, because when the Loma Prieta earthquake hit, our little house got supremely rattled. Whereas me, my little sister, and my little cousin out at the park, we were totally fine. We were totally fine. It was scary. It was scary, but not too scary. I remember my little cousin asking, "What's happening?" And I said, "Hold on. Hold on for your dear life." Because she was on this little like bar thing that you hang from. And it was like, it's like the shape of a half dome. So she was like halfway up it. And I was like, "Hang on." And then after the earthquake passed, I ran over and I grabbed them and I gave them hugs. And I'm like, "Are you guys okay?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, what was that?" And I said, "It's the biggest earthquake you'll ever live through." So yeah, that was a interesting intuitive mediumship type moment. I was a teenager when that happened. The next experience is more of the mediumship. In high school, my friend and I had gone over to another friend's house. And it was this old Victorian house in San Jose, that one of our friends was saying they felt like there was something there. And so me and my friend Jenny, we we were like, "Oh, bet we will come check that out." And so we were, kind of just hanging out, she was talking with the friends, and we went down to the basement. And when we came back up, on my way up, I caught a visual of a girl who was, relatively young, in what would have been the 1800s type dress. Her hair was up, and she kept saying the word lament to me. Um, I didn't know what lament was at that time, and I couldn't Google it because we didn't have that. So when we left, my friend and I, we were comparing notes in our mental experiences, and I said, "Jenny, I saw a girl," and she said, "Me too." And I said, "What did you see?" And she said, "Well, I don't." I said, "Okay. I'll tell you what I saw. It looked like 1800s." And she's like, "Yeah. So I was like, "Okay, what did you see?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, I saw a girl and she looked like she was wearing a dress." And I'm like, "Yeah, it looked like 1800s." And she's like, "Yeah, 1800s." And so she was telling me what she saw, and it was like, yes, that's exactly what I saw. I said, "But I keep hearing the word lament. What is that? Is that French?" And she's like, "I don't know." So, I mean, later on, I looked up the word and found that lament meant great sorrow. So this poor spirit was trying to share something with me about her great sorrow, and I could not. I could not. I could not. I didn't know. So, those are some of my experiences. Some. However, my experiences are very often. They happen very often. So, another experience, and this goes back to when a medium is going to or trying to connect to someone who's on the other side for somebody, and then that spirit says, "No, I don't want to." So another experience would be, I was trying to connect with someone who had passed away that was really, really close to this individual. And they there's a lot of sadness there, and there's a lot of grief in what had happened, and they aren't ready to come forward yet. So they're spending a lot of time with somebody else that they know that they should be around, and they're afraid to face this other person. So um I'm in that particular situation. The only thing that I can tell the person who's trying to connect is that I'm sorry, I'm not able to connect with them. When the message that I'm receiving is I can't connect with this person because I'm not ready to face them yet. So this is where we get into the ethics and discernment of being a psychic medium. Now, because I grew up in this space of, a psychic medium is a witch, and a witch, it says in the Bible, is evil, and anybody who tries to tell the future or read the stars is cast from heaven. And a lot of hellfire and brimstone. I had the Bible thrown at me quite a few times. I can honestly say that the two people, the one in particular, who they've passed, and they're on the other side, and they communicate with me often, and their tune has changed a bit on that because they know they knew while they were alive that I could do this. And then now that they're on the other side of things, they're like, oh, well, I mean, I know Michelle can hear me, so I might as well go talk to her. You know how we said you were going to go to hell for that? Well, could you please keep that line open? Because we really need to talk to you. Bet. So, yeah. I don't subscribe to the whole hellfire and brimstone stuff anymore. Because what I'm starting to learn, what I'm starting to understand more so now, especially now that there's been a lot of ascended, and I say ascended masters, there's been a lot of archangels and like really powerful entities that have come through to share wisdom with me. And one of the things that was shared with me recently is that concept is not completely accurate. Because if you look at the Bible, like if you look at the King James version of the Bible, King Solomon, it doesn't talk about how King Solomon called up like a bazillion demons to build his temple. But if you go to the Kabbalah, it does. So theoretically, shouldn't he have also gone to hell? But yet he's so revered in the Bible. Anyhow, I digress. It's when God created everything. God created everything. You see? Like God created everything. And he created all things for good reason. So me having the ability to do what I do isn't a damnation for the rest of my life. This is a gift that God bestowed upon me. And I've been hiding it under a rock for many decades because of what I was raised with. So I use discernment in my personal life with my abilities by not telling anybody I could do it. And now it's to the point where I really can't keep doing that. I mean, first of all, the people who chastise me are no longer here. So there's that. And then there's the fact that the spirit is really like, the time is right now. The time was right now decades ago. We can't wait anymore. Either you're going to do the thing or you're not. It's the equivalent of shit or get off the pot, basically. So here I am, taking care of business. I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone and I'm telling everybody. One of my very lucky traits is that I'm a psychic medium. That's one. Just one. Just one. Okay? Ethics and discernment. Now, because I have worked in corporate spaces and public spaces, like for the government, I've worked for the government, okay? I already have an incredibly strong moral compass as it is. So if you were someone who was interested in tapping into your natural gifts, be it being a psychic or a medium or whatever, there's an ethical responsibility in giving and receiving messages. There's also an ethical responsibility in taking care of yourself and taking care of the individual or individuals that you're doing this work for. Okay. You do not want to give a fear-based type of message. Okay. Like, if I knew that the end of the world was going to happen, probably wouldn't tell anybody. No, I would not. If I saw that the whole of humanity was going to be wiped out in the blink of an eye on a specific time, yeah, I probably wouldn't say anything. First of all, because I don't think anyone would believe me. And second of all, because you don't want to cause mass fear and panic like that. Okay, that's not okay. It's not okay. And the other, like, and the third, if Jesus were to come to me and say, "Hey, I'm coming for the second time," I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Nope. And I'll tell you why. Because God and Jesus and the whole Bible says that when Jesus comes the second time, he'll be coming like a thief in the night and nobody's going to know. So if by some slim chance Jesus said, "Psst, Michelle, just so you know," I'm not going to say nothing. Not to you, not to my mama, not to nobody. Well, my mom's already gone, so she already knows. But anyway, nobody will know. It's part of having the ethical and, like, compass. There's just some shit you can't talk about. Just some things you just should not talk about. If this is something that you're interested in learning more about, you don't want to give misinformation. If you, for some reason, feel like that it might be like a misinformative thing, then put a pin in it until you can verify the information. And I mean this more so for, like, being psychic. So, for me, I've had dreams, very strong hit dreams about earthquakes and the weather, and oftentimes they're accurate. Again, because I can't really find a way to verify that it's going to happen, I have to put a pin in it and just I'll throw it out there occasionally with, "Hey, be prepared. Don't be scared." Now the next thing is, when you're learning to do this, how do you tell the difference between your true intuition and projection? So with true intuition, it arises from a deep understanding of a situation, often without a conscious reasoning. You'll have a knowing without knowing how you know. While with projection, it comes from your own internal self, your own internal story, and then you're placing that, you're imprinting that upon another person or another situation. Okay, so you will be able to discern. You should be able to discern the difference between what is an intuitive hit, and a projective hit. And then also, there's other examples of this. So let's look into those examples. So there's examples of this. Genuine intuition will often feel calm and centered, while a projection can be accompanied by a strong emotion like fear, anxiety, excitement. With intuition, there's a feeling of sense of, here's an example. This is an example. With your intuition, you may have a feeling or a sense of uneasiness about a new business partner without a clear reason, which might be based on subtle cues in their behavior or past experiences. Whereas with a projecting, you have an assumption of a coworker being angry with you because you are currently feeling frustrated, even though they haven't shown any signs of hostility. So that would be the difference. That's the example. Let's see. So here's some other ways on how to distinguish the difference. You can do so with self-reflection. You can examine your emotions when having a gut feeling. You see, checking in with your body is an incredibly powerful way of knowing if it's an intuitive hit. Are you feeling calm and centered, or are you projecting your own anxieties? Say, for an example, you are walking into an office building and all of a sudden you feel a sharp pain right here in your neck as somebody's walking by. That's an intuitive hit, and you didn't even know it. For me, another intuitive hit thing that I like to do is when I need to make a decision on something. So, say, for an example, I will put out 4 tarot cards. Okay. I'll put out 4 tarot cards on the table, face down, can't see them. And then I will put up my 4 fingers and with both hands. I will tap each one individually with my thumb, close my eyes, and then I will mentally connect with my highest and best self, my higher self, if you will. And then I will ask my higher self to choose which card, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then I will hold out my hand and wait. And if both fingers start to tingle at the same time, I know that that's the one. So you could try practicing something like that. You can consider context. So, does your feeling align with the situation at hand, or are you interpreting things based on your own past experiences? So, if you're having a dialogue with someone and you suddenly feel like exhausted for no apparent reason, is it because you are being drained by this conversation, or is it because you didn't sleep well the night before? And then there's also seeking external perspectives. If you're unsure about a feeling, you can discuss it with a trusted friend or even a therapist to gain a different viewpoint. I will encourage you now, if you would like to explore your own psychic senses, I have an exercise for you. Here's your homework, guys. Okay, here's your homework. And then you're going to have to talk to me in the comments and tell me how it worked out for you, because I want to know. And then I'll share with you my experience. What you can do to start building your intuitive psychic muscles is you can get a deck of playing cards, like the ace, spades, diamonds, hearts. And what you can do is start by trying to predict the color of the card. So I don't have playing cards with me right now. Take the top card face down, put it in front of you, separate from the deck. Put your hand over it, close your eyes, and visualize what color that is. And then, you have a 50% chance of being right or wrong, right? Guess the color. Flip it and see what color it is. Then you can document how many times you're right. Okay? Now, once you've gotten a hang of trying to predict the color of the card, you can expand that to predicting the number on the card. And then once you've got a hang of that, you can go with the suit until you get to where you can predict the actual card itself. Okay? That's how you build those muscles. The next thing that you can do is you can look for an intuitive coach or do some intuitive coaching. There are some very, 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 very skilled coaches that are out there that can help foster and strengthen your intuition. There's one that I personally recommend. Her name is Valerie Boyce, aka the Intuition Witch. So I'll leave a link for her info in the description. I don't know if Valerie is still taking clients for coaching because she will be going on maternity leave soon. However, I'll go ahead and put her information in the description so that you can check her out. And then when she comes back from maternity leave, then you guys can coach with her. She's really awesome. Love her, love her, love her. And then let's see. Oh, the clairs. Have you had the experience with any of those clairs? Clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. If you have, I want to hear your stories. Please, I want to hear your stories because I want to connect with that tribe so much so. So please, 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 please. Leave your message in the comments. Or if you don't feel comfortable sharing that publicly, like for myself, I didn't want to, for the longest time, share that publicly. Shoot me an email. I am definitely available via email. And I would love to read your stories and connect. So, I think what we're going to talk about next is some witchy stuff. Because there's that too. I'm not like your atypical Wiccan witch. Definitely witchy though. And there you go. That's it. I'm a psychic medium. I just shared stuff with you. And I want to hear your experiences. I want to hear your stories. I know this is sounding really rough today, mostly because I'm freaking nervous and I'm scared. So scared, so nervous to share this. Like I said, I went through much of my life keeping this in the closet. So I guess I'm coming out of the broom closet now. Oh my gosh. So scary. All right. Thanks for tuning in, besties. I'm so happy we get to hang out, you know? I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying our time together. And I hope you're enjoying it too. And if there's anything that you want me to talk about, or if there's things that you want me to explore, please let me know in the comments. Please, 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 please. I'm more than happy to hear from you. I'm more than happy to do stuff for you. Okay? We can also connect on all my other social media platforms. I have the link in my bio. And if you want to see more of things like this, I definitely can get psychic mediums on this podcast. So if you want to hear from psychic mediums, let me know. Okay, please. I have a whole slew of them I can get on here. In fact, if there's anything else that you want to hear on this podcast, I will get those guests on here. So, like I said, let me know in the comments. Get active in here. Engage, please. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Okay? Until next week, my beautiful, beautiful souls. Follow the moon, shoot for the stars, and know that you're loved. Ciao, besties.